The day everything made sense. My new perspective. Let me ask you something before we get into anything else. What if I told you there's something you do every single day, multiple times a day, completely for free, and that this one thing has the power to either build you up or tear you apart from the inside? Would you believe me? Probably not, because if it were true, someone would have taught you this a long time ago. But it is true, and I'm going to show you exactly why in the next few minutes. Because a few years ago, I sat across from one of the most respected neurosurgeons in Asia, not at a conference, not in a formal interview, just at a simple table, over coffee with no agenda. And in the middle of that conversation, he stopped. He looked at me with a different kind of seriousness and said, "The speech center of the brain exerts direct influence over all other neurological systems in the body." I stayed silent for a few seconds because that didn't sound like a scientific curiosity. It sounded like a key I had been carrying my entire life without knowing what door it opened. And today, in this video, I want to hand you that key too. But first, I want to show you the price most people are paying for not having it. I need to ask something of you right now. Just pause everything that's going on in your head for a moment and do a simple exercise with me. Try to remember what you said today, not to another person, not in a meeting or conversation, but to yourself. Those internal phrases, almost automatic, that follow you through every moment of your day. When you made a mistake this morning, what did you say to yourself? When you looked in the mirror, what was the first sentence that came up? When you thought about trying something new, doing something different, what was the first voice that responded? If you're honest with yourself, and I know this is hard, you'll probably find a pretty consistent pattern of negative, limiting, and absolute language. I'm not good enough for this. I've tried before. It doesn't work for me. Who am I to want more? My time has already passed. And here's the real problem. It's not that these thoughts exist. Everyone has hard thoughts. That's human. The problem is that they exist without you even noticing. They're automatic. They show up before any reflection happens. And because they're so constant, they start to feel simply true. I remember a period in my own life when I carried a phrase inside me that said, "Maybe you weren't made for this." I never said it out loud, not once, but I repeated it internally every time something went wrong, every time someone seemed further ahead than me, every time the road got difficult. And what did that phrase do to me? It didn't destroy me all at once. It did something worse. It weakened me slowly. It pulled away my drive in doses so small I didn't even notice I was losing it. This has a name. In cognitive psychology, psychiatrist Aaron Beck called it automatic thoughts, instant interpretations the mind produces about everything that happens, which directly shape how we feel and how we act. The problem is that these automatic thoughts are almost never questioned. They show up, they feel true, and the mind accepts them as fact. And when you repeat a fact every single day, it becomes the foundation on which you build your decisions, your relationships, your choices. So let me ask you again, what have you been repeating as fact about yourself? Now I need to go deeper because I want you to understand why this isn't philosophy, it isn't self-help, it's brain function. The human brain has two central language regions, Broca's area, responsible for producing speech, and Wernicke's area, responsible for processing what is said. These two regions have direct connections to virtually every major system in the brain. The limbic system, which regulates emotions, the prefrontal cortex, responsible for planning and decision-making, the autonomic nervous system, which controls physical responses, heart rate, muscle tension, alertness levels. What this means is something very concrete. When you speak, or even when you think in words, you're not just describing a state, you're activating circuits that produce that state. There's a principle in neuroscience called neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to structurally reorganize itself based on repeated experiences. And psychologist Donald Hebb summarized this in a phrase that became a cornerstone of applied neuroscience. Neurons that fire together wire together. What does that mean in practical terms? Every time you repeat a language pattern, internally or externally, you're strengthening the corresponding neural pathway. You are literally building a road inside your brain, and the more you travel that road, the more automatic and effortless it becomes to travel it again. Now, think about what it means to have spent years repeating, "I can't do this. I'm not enough. Things never change for me." You're not just being pessimistic, you're building neural infrastructure for pessimism. You're paving the road your thoughts will naturally travel through, your emotions will naturally flow through, your decisions will naturally be made along. And this works in both directions. The road can be built in any direction. But first, we need to understand the full weight of what we're dealing with. Let me tell you about someone. I'll call her Sarah. That's not her real name, but the story is real. Sarah was one of the most competent people I ever encountered in a professional setting. Above average technical skills, a track record of strong results, recognized by everyone around her as someone with clear potential. But Sarah never moved forward. While people with less experience grew, took on bigger roles, picked up more challenging projects, Sarah stayed exactly where she was, and she couldn't understand why. When I started paying attention to what Sarah actually said about herself, about her own possibilities, the pattern became clear within just a few conversations. I don't know if I have the right profile for that kind of position. There's definitely someone more qualified than me. It's just not my moment yet. These things sounded like humility. They seemed reasonable on the surface. But what these phrases were doing quietly was assembling an entire system of behaviors that confirmed exactly what she had declared. Here's how this mechanism works in practice. First, she avoided opportunities before she even evaluated them. It wasn't a rational decision, it was automatic. The brain had already determined the outcome before the analysis could even begin. Second, when she received positive feedback, she dismissed it. He only said that to be kind. The negative belief survived any contradictory evidence because the filter was already configured to reject anything that didn't fit. Third, when she did try, her effort was less than it could have been. Why give everything to something that probably won't work out anyway? The brain conserves energy in directions it has already marked as unlikely, and in the end, the result seemed to confirm the original belief. See, I knew it wasn't for me. But the actual sequence was reversed. It wasn't reality that created the belief. It was the belief that manufactured the reality. This has a name in social psychology. Robert Merton in the 1940s called it the self-fulfilling prophecy. You believe something. That belief alters your behavior. Your behavior produces exactly the result you expected, and the belief grows stronger. It's a cycle, and most people are trapped inside it without even knowing the cycle exists. There's a fundamental difference between what you say in public and what you say to yourself. In public, you filter. You know you'll be judged. You choose your words carefully. But internally, the filter drops completely, and it's in that unfiltered space that the most destructive patterns operate with the most freedom, because no one sees. And because no one sees, they're never challenged. I always mess everything up. Nobody really values me. I don't deserve what I have. Why get my hopes up? These phrases are never spoken out loud, but they're repeated, sometimes dozens of times a day, with an emotional weight that no public statement ever carries. And here's the point I had to face in my own life, and that many people resist accepting. The internal voice is no less real than the voice other people hear. In many ways, it's more powerful because it's constant, because it's private, and because almost no one ever challenges it. When you spend hours a day telling yourself that you're not capable, that you're not valuable enough, that things will never change, that doesn't stay contained as an abstract thought. It seeps into your posture, into the way you walk into a room, into how you respond to an opportunity, into choices you make without even realizing you're making them. I've seen this in myself. I've seen it in people close to me, and the conclusion is always the same. It wasn't lack of ability. It wasn't lack of opportunity. It was the accumulated weight of years of internal language that no one had ever taught that person to monitor. I need to be very direct here because there's a common mistake that ruins everything. When people hear that language has power, the first reaction is to want to swap all the negative phrases for positive ones. Affirmations, mantras, repeating things in the mirror every morning. I understand the impulse, but that approach, in the way it's usually done, doesn't work. And when it doesn't work, people conclude that this whole thing about words doesn't matter, and they throw away the real principle along with the distorted version of it. What I've learned and what behavioral science supports is something more precise and more honest. It's not about replacing negative language with positive language, it's about replacing closed language with open language. Closed language ends a possibility. It says the outcome is already decided. I can't do it. Closed. Final. No path forward. I'm finished. Closed. No return. There's no way out. Closed. Done. Open language doesn't deny the difficulty. It keeps the space where change can exist. I don't know how to do this yet. I need to rebuild my strength. I haven't found the way forward yet. It sounds like a small difference, but structurally, it's enormous. One tells the brain, case closed, stop searching. The other tells the brain, open problem, keep processing. And the brain follows that instruction because that's how it was designed to work. When you frame something as an open question, the prefrontal cortex keeps working. It keeps searching for patterns, connections, possibilities. When you declare something closed, that processing stops. You don't need to believe everything's going to work out. You just need to stop declaring that nothing will. Now, I want to give you something concrete, something I want you to take seriously, because it's simple enough to actually work and deep enough to change real things. Over the next 7 days, you're going to run a self-awareness experiment, not a motivation challenge, not a hashtag campaign, a personal investigation. Phase 1, the first 3 days, just observe. Pay attention to what you say about yourself, out loud and internally. Notice the language that surfaces when something goes wrong. Notice what you think when you look toward the future, your possibilities, what you feel you do or don't deserve. No judgment in this first phase, no trying to change anything yet, just notice. If you can, write it down. It doesn't need to be an elaborate journal. A notes app on your phone works. 3 sentences a day, but write it down. The act of writing creates distance between you and the thought, and that distance is exactly where awareness begins. Phase 2, days 4 through 7, substitute. For each pattern you identified, propose an alternative version, not necessarily positive, just less closed, less final. I can't becomes I'm still learning how to do this. Nobody values me becomes I haven't found the right environment for this yet. My time has passed becomes I haven't used all the time I still have. 7 days. Conscious observation and conscious substitution. What happens afterwards isn't instant transformation. It's something more valuable than that. It's the beginning of awareness about a mechanism that has been operating inside you for years without you ever knowing you could intervene. We're back to where we started. That neurosurgeon wasn't giving me a motivational lesson. He was describing a function that is operating in you right now as this video comes to an end, and that will keep operating tomorrow morning when you wake up before you say a single word. The question isn't whether your words have power over you. The evidence, scientific, neurological, behavioral, says they do. The question is what you're going to do with that power now that you know it exists. Because the simplest truth in this entire video is this: you are living today, in large part, the result of what you've been saying to yourself for a long time. It's not your fault, it's a mechanism, and mechanisms can be understood. And once understood, they can be adjusted. Change doesn't begin with action. It begins before that. It begins with what you say, with what you decide to keep saying, and with what you decide, starting now, to stop saying. The question that remains is simple. If your internal language doesn't change, what exactly is going to change? If this video made you think about something you've never stopped to observe before, share it with someone who needs to hear this. In the next video, I'll go deeper into how to identify and reprogram limiting beliefs in practice with a method you can apply on your own. See you there.